Hello boys and girls, and welcome to lesson 7-10, line plots and data in fractional units. Line plots, meaning organizing your information on a line, you plot the information. This is how we are going to organize it. And fractional units means we're working with fractions and mixed numbers. So we have to know how to make sure that we're able to properly fragment the numbers into fractions, meaning from 0 to 1, we have to know, are we going to cut 0 to 1 by 4 parts? Are we going to cut it by 8 parts or by 16 parts? That is all depending on the denominator on the fraction. If the denominator is 8, then we cut it into 8 parts because that's what we're working with. If the denominator is 4, then we cut it into 3 parts. So we can pick out easily what 3/4 would be. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, right now, for the homework, what I actually want you to work on is only on page 242A and 242B. 242, the original 242, will be done in class, okay? This is a little harder, and I want to be able to make sure that we work with these numbers, plotting these numbers correctly, and I want to guide you through it and see what kind of feedback you are able to give me, okay? So let's just focus on page 242A and 242B, okay? On page 242A, we are looking at some data, okay? As you can see, always read the title first. So we're looking at rainfall data, and for the days are across the top and how much rainfall in the unit of inches, okay? So the table below shows rainfall for 10 days in one of the driest cities. Organize the data in the line plot down here, okay? Then analyze the data to answer questions about the plotted rainfall. Okay, then we're gonna analyze it, finding the range, the median, the average, the mean, and so on. Okay, but first let's plot it. Okay. Label the approximate locations on the line plot. Okay, so we have to find the approximate location for these places. They have told us pretty much how to do it. Now, I was going to suggest this, boys and girls. I was going to tell you to look at the highest denominator. Work with the highest denominator so that we know how we're going to break the 0 to 1, just the way I said when I introduced the lesson. Okay. So we have to clearly break this from 0 to 1 into 8 parts because that is the highest denominator. If it were 16, we would break it into 16 parts. I hope that makes sense. But let's try right now to work with 8s. Okay? They have asked us to label these parts, but first let's break it into 8s. Okay? I'm going to zoom in and shut the camera off so that you were able to manipulate this page better. So since I have to cut this now into 8 parts, it's better to just start down here. I would pick out where the half would be. There we go. So now I have 2 parts. Now I'm going to break it up into 4, so I'll cut this half into halves and this half into half, and that'll give me 4. Okay, so I cut that into a half and then about here and a half. Okay, so that gives me 4. Now I'm going to cut it into 8s. Break it apart into 8, so that would be 1, there will be another, break that one, and break that one, and now I have 8 parts. And now I can start plotting these points on the line, right? Just like so. Okay, and you can see that this is 1 out of 8, 2 out of 8, 3 out of 8, 4 out of 8, 5, 6, 7 out of 8. Okay, we also know that we can simplify this. We know that this is actually, from here to here, it's 1/4. We simplify 1/4, 1/4. This over here, now this from here to there, this is exactly the halfway mark. It's 1/2. But we didn't simplify. We wrote 4/8, which would actually be 1 here and 2/4 here. 1/2, a half. 5/8 stays the same. This could be simplified to 3/4. 3/4, okay, and 7/8 stays the same. Okay? Now, let's plot the points. On day 1, we had 3/8. Okay, so on day 1, I'll mark it with the 1. On day 1, we had 3/8. So we plot it. There we go. We have 1 there, 3/8, right? And then on day 2 we had a half. okay, half an inch, and we know that here's 1 inch, and the half is right over here, right? 4/8 is a half the inch. We cut it into 8 parts, so this marks the half. So we get another one, we get another one there. Okay, so that's done, and then we have 1/8, one there. Oh, but I can't forget to label my zeros. I have 1 day with 0, another day with 0, so 1 0, another 0. 5/8, right there, right there. 3/4, as we already mentioned, this is 3/4. If you divide it in half, if you divide it, whatever you do to the top, you divide it in half, you must do to the bottom, divide it in half, and now you know what we have. We have 3 here and 4 here, 3. So, I did. Okay, and then another 0, and another 0, and another 0. Okay, and that's how you would label this, boys and girls. Go ahead and put a star there, and I hope you've done it exactly the same. This is one of your key answers. And now that you have your line plot made, let's analyze the data. Okay, we're being asked what is the mode. Remember, the mode repeats the most, the number that repeats the most. 0 is a number, okay, in this instance, in this case. So make sure that you are able to fill out the number that repeated the most. The range, okay, how far is it from the lowest amount of rain, which is 0, to the highest? Okay, how far is it? What's the range? What's the difference between the lowest and the highest? And then the median. Median is the middle number. Organize the data from lowest to highest and pick out the middle number. And then the mean as a decimal, rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay? The mean as a decimal, round to the nearest hundredth. Okay? This one is another key answer, boys and girls. Make sure that you add them all. If you want to know how to do it, you add all of them. Okay? And then you divide it by the number of numbers. Okay? And you convert that into a decimal to the nearest hundredth. Okay, and actually our answer is 0.24. That's a little gift for you right there. That is another key answer. Okay, on to the next page. Okay, boys and girls, for the next page, we're simply just doing a review. Okay, it's operations with multi-digit whole numbers and decimal. Here, what we want to do is just fill this out, this area out with your answer. You're multiplying 54 by 207. Okay. You know that when you multiply with a 4, you're actually multiplying 4 times 207. 4 times 7 is 28. You carry the 2. 4 times 0. Okay. 4 times 2. Okay. Make sure that you carry the numbers. And then down here is not times 5. This is actually why we have to put a 0 here, because you're actually multiplying times 50. So remember to just fill that in with a 0 and continue on. 5 times 7 is 35. Okay, and so on, carry the 3, 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3, okay? And so on, you fill this out, and then add them directly down, okay? That one's simple. You please figure that one out on your own. Next, we have to write down here a number sentence, how we would do something. If you have the number 7,550, and it's shared equally among 25 people, so this amount of money will be shared equally amongst this many people. If we have to split it by this many people, we're dividing it. So if you're thinking about writing 7,550 divided by 25, okay, you are correct. Equals, we need to pick a variable. Let's just pick the letter M, okay? You are correct. This is another key answer. And I'll know you have the key answer because you use the same variable, okay? Will a reasonable estimate for the quotient be in tens, hundreds, or thousands? Well, what do you think? If we're dividing a number in the thousands by a number in the tens, what is your where is your answer going to be? Will it be in the tens, in the hundreds, or the thousands? Go ahead and write down your estimate, and then finally give me the answer. What is M equal? What is M? Okay. You'll continue doing the same here for number 3 and number 4. These are word problems, or what we call number sentence problems. I can't remember what everyday math calls them, but they're word problems. Okay, go ahead. Oh, number stories. That's right. And let's continue down here with 4a. Let me zoom into 4a. For question 4, we're being asked to figure out where the decimal goes, okay? The correct digits for the product, okay, the product right here, okay, these are the factors, this is the product. For the product are given. Write the decimal point in the product without actually multiplying. Now, how would we know where the decimal goes? I've taught many of you that you just have to count how many numbers it takes to get from one decimal to the other. So if you were to actually write this down to get from this decimal to this decimal, if you wrote it down as so, you would have to count how many places, how many numbers you have to pass to get to the decimal place. So you would start counting at this decimal place, and you go to the right and see how many numbers you have to cross to get to the back to the decimal place. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If the decimal place were here, you would only have to pass 2. You pass 1, you pass 2, and you don't pass any more numbers to get through it. But you have to go by these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you do the same here. You start with the decimal would be, otherwise, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know your answer is by 30, right? The decimal would go right there. But here you are being asked to explain how you figured it out. Now this would be tough to explain to someone. Here's another way you can explain it. You understand that decimal 98 is almost 1. So this would be 1 times 39. So you know that it's going to be just a little less than 39 because you're not multiplying by 1 anymore. You're multiplying it by a number less than 1. So it's going to be around 39. Okay, so that's how you know that the decimal should be right after the 38. Okay, let's explain that. 0.98 is almost 1, so I knew that the product would be close to 39. 38.6 would be close to 39, and that's how you know the decimal goes right there. Okay, please start this as another key answer because you have been following along. And finally, the last question. Explain how you could use the shading in the grid to find the quotient. Okay, the quotient is what you get out of this for 0.65 divided by 0.5. Okay, the shading here shows 13 groups of 0.5 in 0.65. Does it not? Okay, you see this, the 13 groups, so make sure that you write that down. The shading shows 13 groups of 0.05 in 0.65. Okay, and what whole number division problem has the same quotient? Well, the same quotient, this same grid could be used for 65 divided by 5. Could it not? You see it? 65 divided by 5. Okay, there you go, boys and girls. We will continue with this lesson, the first page of this lesson, page 242 in class. Okay, page 242 will be done in class. Don't do it at home. And the math boxes as well. See you in class.